Thomas Jefferson once said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Don't remain silent. You've just jumped into the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and co-host Bill Pickle.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you here this morning. I tell you what, we have a week that we need to wrap up and get rid of. I tell you what, it has been one of those wild and woolly weeks, hasn't it? And so glad to have you here in the Pickle Barrel with us this morning. I tell you what, we got a busy weekend planned here. We got a very busy week planned here, and let's just say I'm going to be leaving here tomorrow morning to go work on a special project that I'm involved in. And, I won't be back until Sunday night. So that's the way it goes in the West, my friends. That's the way it goes in the West. But here we go anyway. Hey, glad to have you here in the Pickle Barrel. And if you're here with us right now, I want you to do this for me. I want you to look up at the sky and thank you for all the blessings that we have in our lives. Say that right now. And please watch over us in the future, because the Lord knows we are going to need all the help we can get. If you would do that for me, because I think we need it. But on top of that, I want you to pick up your phone, and I want you to call in at 712-770-4160. And then when you hear this instruction, enter your PIN number. I want you to put in 263151#. And that'll be the magic PIN number. And then when you get ready to talk, hit *6. And you will then be in the Pickle Barrel Live talking to yours truly and the entire world. You'll feel so important. You'll feel like, gosh, you could run for president. Nah, seriously, I would like for you to give us a call and take part in the conversations. We do strongly and very deeply enjoy and solicit your participation in our roundtable discussions. Wow. Also, you can check us out on Facebook Live. And, of course, you're right here, AmericanPatriotRadio.com right now. Spread the word. Let everybody know we're here. All right. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's get started here with a real short This Day in History visit. Let's see here. And, a sweet little thing to talk about first. 1587. In the Roanoke Island colony, Eleanor and Anastasia Dare become parents of a baby girl who they named Virginia, the first English child born in what would become the United States of America. How about that? So sweet. Oh, Lordy. Well, 3 years later, in the same place, Roanoke, Virginia, John White, the leader of the 117 colonists, sent there in 1587 to Roanoke Island to establish a colony, returns from a trip to England to find the settlement deserted. No trace of the settlers ever found. Okay, let's see here. The French in 1759, the French fleet is destroyed by British under old dreadnought Boscawen at the Battle of Logos Bay. Confederate soldier General Jeb Stuart's headquarters is raided by Union troops on the 5th New York, and 1st Michigan Cavalry's in 1862. 1864, Union General William T. Sherman sends General Judson Kilpatrick to raid Confederate lines of communication outside Atlanta. That was a failed attempt, by the way, just in case you did not know that. That's not written here, but I'll let you know it was a failed attempt. Didn't get nowhere. 1898, Adolph Hawks takes over the New York Times, saying his aim is to give the news, all the news, in concise and attractive form, in language that was permissible in good society, and give it early, not later, than it can be learned through any other medium. And then he came back and he said, actually, I want to make it earlier, if not earlier than it can be learned through any other medium. So we had a retraction there and a rewrite. So the New York Times, well, we see where it's at today. You know, I do read the New York Times, and I sometimes will take information from their articles and use it as material for the show and other discussions. And then I have my debate with what they write, because not always do I agree with what they write. You know, they do have a good paper. Let me say that right now. But sometimes they put a little bit of a left lean on things. Like every day. Okay, 1920. Tennessee becomes the 36th state to ratify the 19th Amendment, granting a very special privilege, which we're going to be talking about here this morning. Women's suffrage, completing the 3/4 necessary to put the amendment into effect. How about that? And one of my favorite movies ever, and anytime it comes on TV, I still watch it, and I don't know why. I can quote it to you word by word. I can do the little dance. I can do the songs. The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz opens in New York City. Gosh, how about that? How about that? Okay, skipping a lot of stuff here. We're going to go down here to something a little bit more. 1982, you sports fans. Pete Rose sets record with his 13,941st plate appearance. In other words, he'd been up to bat 13,941 times. Folks, that's a lot of baseball. 1988, on this day, history was made. History was made. The Republican Convention in New Orleans nominates George H.W. Bush and Dan Quayle ticket. How about that? That was a long time ago, wasn't it? Oh, gosh, that was a long time ago, right? Okay. Let's see here. In 2011, oh, do I remember this? Because people said it would never break $100 an ounce. In 2011, gold hits a record price of $1,826 an ounce. Right after I closed out the account that I had. If I just waited a few more days, just a few more days, Bill, patience, dude, patience. All right, born on this day in history, 1774, Meriwether Lewis, the American explorer who led the Corps and discovered the discovery with William Clark, Lewis and Clark expedition. Lord John Russell, the Prime Minister of England from 1846 to 1852 and 1865 to 1866, was born in 1792. The father of John Quincy Adams was born on this day in 1807. Shelley Winters, actress, and who won an Academy Award for The Diary of Anne Frank. She was born on this day in 1922. A year later, Jimmy Witherspoon, very good blues singer. I am a fan of the blues, and he was one of the best, old-timey best. Oh, Lordy. Roman Polanski. Remember Roman Polanski, director of Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown, was born on this day. Robert Redford, Sundance, Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, The Sting, The Great Gatsby. He was in so many films I could sit here all day and have to think about him. I still couldn't probably come up with all of them. Frankie Avalon, Venus. Venus. Beach Blanket Bingo. He was I guess you'd say he was the teen idol, the heartthrob, or whatever you want to call those folks that go through that era. He was that back in the 1940. He was born in 1940, but in the 50s, he was the man. Another one that followed him not too long after that was Patrick Swayze. He was born on this day. Dirty Dancing, Ghost, two good movies. Bob Woodruff, journalist, news anchor, was born on this day in 1961. And, he was, actually, if you remember correctly, he was critically wounded by a roadside bomb in Iraq, back in, what was that, 2006, I think it was, 2005, 2006, in that era. And Christopher Slater was born on this day. Heathers, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, all that kind of Hard Rain, all that. So some of the things that happened on this day in history. Let's get going on things we're going to be talking about today. Oh, today. Well, let's see here. Start off the bat, let's get started on some local and some easy things. We'll work into the hard stuff here. As I told you, yesterday was the first day of school. Please be careful out there on the roads as young kids get used to the idea of walking and crossing streets. Of course, not too many of them walk to school anymore. I don't care how far or how close they live. Most kids do not walk to school anymore. And I remember when some of the kids quit walking when they started riding bicycles to school. And very rarely do you see kids riding bicycles to school anymore, at least around my area where I live. You don't see kids riding bicycles to school. You see mom or dad dropping them off. Buses now pick up kids just about anywhere, everywhere. It don't matter how close or how far, the bus will pick you up. You just don't see that many kids riding buses anymore. Although, they pass our house every single day, and they're half empty. They're half empty, coming and going. But that's the way it goes. But today is the first day of school, and I know that there's a group of kids and teachers and everybody that's really happy to be in the new Del May School, which is a elementary school here in my hometown, Florence. And, they entered their brand new school. The other one's already torn down. They're widening the road that's going through that area and taking in some of that property. And the school district folks, I'm telling you what, they need to let go of that property. I don't know what their intentions are, but that is on a main thoroughfare with a lot of traffic and a great spot for business. And my humble opinion is, instead of raising people's taxes, they might want to sell that property to buy the property they're talking about using for future growth in other areas. Or they could put that into the teacher bucket and hire some good teachers, maybe give some good ones a raise and keep them, and use the balance to replace the bad ones. Novel idea, controversial already here in the Pickle Barrel, but you know what? That's me. Christian Slater, not Christopher. Okay, I slipped, did I? My son is Christopher. I use Christopher quite a bit in that way. Anyway, Okay, so school's back open, so y'all be careful, okay? Okay. Fire department right beside me here. You know, they here when in a tax battle, you know, we had a tax funding battle here a couple of years ago where the county wanted to bring in all the volunteer fire departments that was within the county, and the city wanted to merge them all under their auspice somewhat. They wanted to play games with the county. They were trying to work a special, unique deal. And so, well, the state legislators in our area gave this particular fire department a separate arrangement where they were not involved with them. They were a county fire department, which they really are. Anyway, which excused them from the merger and the taxes that was going to be levied with that merger. Well, the city sued the county, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is, it was just announced a few days ago, or it's been a while now, but anyway, they are under the auspice of the city, okay? The lawsuit was filed in 2014, and so now, you know, the West Florence Fire Department is, anyway, it's getting a big improvement, which is the main thing I want to talk about. They're getting a good improvement. They're getting $835,000 to improve their facility and fire district of water hydrants and things like that in our area of the county, and that makes me very, very, very happy. So anyway, there's that. I want to go back. I made a comment about teachers. There was a letter to the editor that I saw that was very good. It was very good. And it was talking about how, regarding the Florence School District 1 plans, they said this particular contributor said that, and I want to read some of this. He says, "I'm disappointed in the behavior of certain member of the school board. It appears his plan hasn't been thought through and discussed enough without bringing it to the public." Well, this is kind of retro here, because yesterday, as you know, I was mentioning that how they've decided to take all this back to the table and discuss it. Well, this guy is an outspoken guy, Daniel Owens. He's a doctor here in Florence. And he's very open, and he's real shy and meek like I am. But anyway, they are taking it back, and they are going to be talking about all this. And so if he had been listening to In the Pickle Barrel yesterday, he would have known that. And maybe he needs to start listening to the show. And, well, anyway, you know where I'm going. So anyway, okay. Let's get this done. Let's get it out of the way. Barcelona. Apparently another ISIS attack. Still up in the air whether or not it was ISIS, although they are taking the blame for it. You know, they always take blame for all these things, whether they are or not. It really doesn't matter. It's still terrorism. Other than the fact if they take the blame, they do get credit for it, which gives them much more exposure and much more ability to frighten people. So anyway, they are taking the blame for it. Mixed numbers. This morning, I heard 13 and I heard 15. I saw an update where it was raised to 15, so I'm assuming it's 15, but either way too many killed again by a terrorist act. Innocent people. Innocent people. But you know what? It does not surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise anyone else, that ISIS will be, I'm saying will be because I strongly believe they will. I'd be pleasantly surprised if they don't. But I believe they're going to be stepping up attacks like this everywhere. And, the reason is very obvious if you stop and think about it. They're losing control. They're losing ground in this war that they're carrying on for so many years. And and folks, it's never going to stop over there. Put it out of your mind if you think it's going to stop. It's never going to stop. But what they're doing is they're bringing that fight to the rest of the world in the realm of terrorism. And, and so they've got to do that. As a terrorist organization, they have to do that because they're losing ground. They're losing faith in the area where their main battles are. So we'll just keep up the destruction. We'll keep up the fear by attacking other people around the world. After all, their goal was and still is to take over the world. So I guess they need to start that battle all over. God, it's there's just no escaping it. There's just no escaping it. And the means that they did, same as what happened in Charlottesville. It's not the same group. Plowed a vehicle down a main drag, down a main street, bang, bang, bam, 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 bam. They now, as of this morning, I saw an alert where they did find the culprit, the alleged culprit, innocent until proven guilty. The alleged culprit, who was the brother of the person who owned the vehicle that did the killing, okay? Which they went after him first, found out, whoop, not you, it was your brother, okay? So anyway, folks, I tell you, I am still amazed, and I am still amazed that something like this, and I'm not talking about Charlotte, that's a totally different incident, okay? Totally different. Same tool of crime, but a different situation somewhat. Somewhat. That, too, in my mind, was terrorism. I don't care what anyone says. It was terrorism. ISIS does it. We know it, don't it? We admit it was terrorism. We don't want to admit that terrorism exist in our country, do we? Well, like I was going to say, I am amazed to this day that something like this has not happened in the beloved city that I may not agree with all their politics, but I love that city, New York City. We visit and we walk through Times Square where we stay in our hotel down there. Anywhere we go, we have to walk through. That's probably an alternative, but we enjoy going through Times Square. And it amazes me at the thousands, not a few hundred, but the thousands of people that are in Times Square every day, that something like this hasn't taken place. Now then, they do have a high police presence. Yes, they do. But guess what? They had a high police presence in a lot of places that these things have taken place. So anyway, I hope we never see that in New York City. And it'd be a terrible, terrible thing. But I wouldn't say it's beyond approach. I would not say it's beyond approach. Okay, let me check up with the chat room and see what's going on. Good morning, Neil. Glad to have you back with us this morning. Enjoy you being here. I hope you will continue your daily logins into the chat category. And one of these days, I'm hoping you'll actually call in and talk with us. Okay. Got a phone call ringing there. I'm sorry. I normally put my phone on mute. Let me put that on mute right there real quick. President digs in as anger rises. Oh, gosh. According to the Associated Press, he is digging in. And so, well, I guess he probably should. We do have a lot of things going on. Ivanka Trump's rabbi, in case you didn't know, Ivanka Trump's rabbi denounced President Trump for blaming both sides in a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's really, really important to know that he did that. And, I don't know if that really means that much, but it does to somebody, I take it, or he wouldn't have done it, right? So, oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. It amazes to me that anytime something like this happens, that blame is thrown out there. Now, when I say anything like this was not what I would call your peaceful kumbaya type protest. You had two different groups out there of people totally opposite each other. You had two different groups out there dressed like they were ready for warfare. You had two different groups out there that were screaming and hollering and yelling, cursing, spitting, being bold, boisterous, idiotic, mean. What did you expect? See, folks, here's where I draw the line. There's a difference between protest than what these people were doing. And, I'm not going to stay on this topic very long. I'm really sick about talking about it, and I know some of you are probably real tired of hearing about it. But, this just gets my dander up when I see people doing things like this, when you should condemn both sides. I'm sorry, and some of you probably disagree with me. But you should condemn both sides in cases like this. They came prepared for acts of war against each other. They didn't come to have peaceful protests to discuss the issues. They came to put on a show. There will probably be a movie about this, There's a huge difference between talking together, working together, trying to overcome issues, and getting out there with baseball bats, running over people, burning flags. Well, I hate it. I understand it, okay? But I hate it. I hate it, but, okay. But, what did they expect? And President Trump, President Trump, right? He hasn't been president but a few months. He's on that other side of half the year now, though. He's going to have an anniversary coming up pretty soon, isn't he? Right after the first of the year. President Trump is not known for backing down. Not at all. President Trump is not one that we know of that will always talk in a mild, meek voice or temperament. Donald Trump is about as bad as they are in the way he communicates. And by gosh, wrong, don't attack him like you are, because he's going to dig in, and guess what? It's going to be twofold coming back. The big dog always has to end up on top. All right? So, y'all say and scream and holler all you want to, but the more you do, the more Trump you're getting. So carry on, if that's really what you want. Go at it. It's almost, if it wasn't for the lives lost and the image that we're setting around the world, not just in our country, but around the globe, this is almost one of those wartime comedies. You've seen them on TV, like F Troop. You know, that's an old TV show, Western, which was sarcastic and funny. It made fun of everything. This is kind of what it's getting to be like. And I hate to say that about our president and all the issues that we're facing, but it really is the way both sides are pitting against each other, and then they're joining each other and pitting against Trump, and then they're unpitting and fighting. You know, it's unreal. It's a comedy. It's a Shakespearean play. Unreal. But anyway, lordy. Banyan, one that's been in the picture lately. Okay, Banyan. He shared his views on a couple of things. He told just lost my track of thought here. American Prospect. I'm sorry. American Prospect told them that the U.S. is against China and talks about purging his rivals from the Defense and State Departments. He said dismisses all of them. Now, this kind of sounds like Trump, don't it? He dismisses all of them as losers, a fringe element, and a collection of clowns. Okay. In a separate interview with dailymail.com, which is an internet news agency, commentary station, whatever you want to call it, the American Prospect drew fire away from Trump in that he successfully changed the media narrative around Trump with the interview. So he took him off. He took the interview, switched it from his interview to talking about Trump, which is pretty good. Okay, pretty good. Oh, lordy. Whatever. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see. Neil in the chat room says, I think POTUS needs to get his DOJ to classify BLM, Muslim Brotherhood, and Antifa as hate groups. Will be another Michael Moore movie I don't watch. Yeah, that's true. But you know what? Personally, my opinion, Neil, I think groups like that show absolute disorder, absolute ignoring any laws or anything like that do what they have done in the last 2 or 3 weeks as far as agitation and violence and things like that. I agree. I think they should be designated as a hate group because they are not for the people. They are not of the people. I guarantee you from the black community, the African American community, whatever you want to call, they do not like it either. And I'm talking about some here in the South. I mean, you would think that these people, white and black, would be, all right, we need to be more vicious. We need to be more upfront. They're not. The majority of people do not like this any more than I do or you do. And I talked to a half a dozen African-American black leaders this past week. And every one of them say this is what gives all of us a bad name. These things do us more harm than getting our message across than anything else we can think of. And that is so true. That is true. I don't see where they think they're helping themselves. Or they're helping themselves because they're gathering more troops up into their ballywick of BS. But the ordinary people, the people out here that are really, really, really suffering, they're not helping them. They're doing them more harm than good. in my humble opinion. And yes, I do have an opinion, don't I? Always. Oh, Lord, 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 Lord. You know, talking about this, I picked up the idea that, and this was by looking at some of the different publications around the country, listening to some of the news agencies last night, that it appears to me, finally, that just perhaps the media, the mainstream media, some of them have picked up on this, and now they are saying that it is getting to be out of hand also, some of the things they're doing. So, who knows? Who knows? Well, I tell you, I think that radical groups on either side are going to continue. It's not going to stop either. I wish I could say it was, but I really don't think it will. I really don't think it will. All right, let's check the chat room and stuff here again real quick and see what we're going in. Got various different places we have people chat, so I have to go back and forth. Let's see, nothing new either place, so let's just carry on. Whoop, somebody just sent something in. CNN is spinning the Spanish terrorist attacks as being driven by Charlottesville. Oh, good God. Are they really, Neil? I haven't looked at CNN. Come on. CNN. Charlottesville didn't spearhead the other automobile-related attacks in Europe over the last year. Charlottesville hadn't even happened yet. So, don't say, God bless you. Gee whiz. CNN. I got to come up with another name for CNN. Another, C stand for something, N for something, N for something. I got to come up with a different slogan for them. Gee whiz, folks, get a life. How about doing some real reporting? Got my dander up, Neil. I got my dander up. Wolf Blitzer said it was a copycat of Charlottesville. They have this. That Charlottesville is their Alamo to take down POTUS. The Alamo for Donald Trump. CNN. I remember when I watched a lot of CNN. And I still do occasionally. I admit it. 2 or 3 times a week now, I'll check over there just to see what they're doing. And I'm not over there maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most. When they start trying to do their analysis and commentary about what's going on, it just loses me. Apparently, it's lost a lot of people, too. The numbers are way down, by the way. Okay. Apple made a pledge yesterday. I don't know if y'all saw this. They made a pledge to spend $10 million to fight hate. They're saying they are donating $2 million to 2 human rights groups as part of CEO's Tim Cook's pledge to help lead the fight against the hate that fueled the violence in Virginia during the white nationalist rally last weekend. He made the comment late Wednesday, actually, in an internal memo obtained by the Associated Press. He told Apple employees in the memo that he strongly disagreed with President Trump's attempts to draw comparisons between the actions of the white nationalists and Protestants, protesters opposing the protesters, gee whiz, against opposing them. He said that the two runs counter to our ideas as Americans, and he's given $1 million apiece to the Southern Poverty Law Center and $1 million to the Anti-Defamation League. It will also match employee donations to those two groups and other human rights organizations on a 2-to-1 basis. All right. Now then, I hear people right now, and I'll have to agree with you on this one. Here's another example of big business getting involved in the political arena. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And, right here, every day, we have one particular individual that's always telling us how big pharma and big business are running the country. They are leading the country. They are destroying the country. They always have and they always will. Lord help us. Lord help us. I hate it when anyone puts a feather in that hat. Oh, gosh. But, here he goes. Apple, apple, apple. Gosh. I do love my phone, though. I do love my phone. I wish I could find one better. I might boycott you. Oh, Lordy, 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 Lordy. That's the way it goes, isn't it? That's the way it goes. You never know from one day to the next what's going to happen. Lord, good news for a lot of people around the globe here in the United States of America anyway. Average U.S. mortgage rates edged lower. They've gone back down. They're 3.89% interest rate on mortgage loans right now. And, I don't know why anybody that could afford a home don't have one right now with interest rates that low. I really, really don't. It comes back into the pre-1980 era when interest rates were that low and lower. Really back in the 60s and 50s was when interest rates were really low. And back in the end of 20th century, they were high. I mean, high. Average mortgage loan was around 17.5%. And some of them, especially mobile homes, trailers, as a lot of people call them, they were like 24% range. So, okay. Well, we hear about so much. Let's see here. Yeah, it'll take about 15 minutes to talk about this. We hear so much about how the Republican Party is dying. They're in the process of killing themselves. They're in the process of falling apart. It's this one against this one in the middle, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about. We're self-destructing. Well, if you pay attention to what's going on and listen real close and get your nose out of just one propaganda-ridden news source and look at some of the other things going on. And I might add that although they're not my favorite source of things, even that piece, that rag, newspapers are called rag, okay? That rag called The Hill, it actually sometimes has some pretty good stuff in it. It has a lot of good stuff in it if you like to take everything they say and argue over it. It'll give you a lot to argue about. But anyway, back to the other story. The DNC, Democrat National Committee, is leaving, apparently, a lot of money on the table. In other words, their donations coming in has not been that good this year. Everybody assumed that after the presidential election that the Democrats would come together and support the party and make all kinds of donations in money and time to rebound and come up with somebody that could challenge Trump in re-election, or get money to help congressional candidates, senators, and congressmen in elections, so they could come in and help at least take over the Senate and the Congress, get both of them instead of just one, get both of them. And but that is not happening. That is not happening. As a matter of fact, fundraising over the first 6 months of 2017 has seriously hurt them. Seriously hurt them. At the current time, Republicans, based on financial releases, they got to make their little announcements, the DNC raised $38.2 million in the first half of this year, compared with Republicans, their national committee, the RNC, of $75.4 million during the same period. Folks, that is 2 to 1, a little over 2 to 1. So, as of June the 30th, the Republicans made $75.4 million haul, which is exactly a $37.2 million difference. That's significant. That is significant. The RNC right now, according to their financials, has over $45 million in their account right now, not counting what's coming in. The RNC has just under $7.5 million. And they have $3 million in debt that was disclosed. So, it appears to me that the rebound for the liberal party has not been as strong as some people think it would be. Neil just put up here, the DNC is in the red with bills. I think over $3 million in the hole. Right, Neil, we just talked about that, yeah. And but that is ungodly. That I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked. I really did think that the Democrats would flock together and go in there and say, look, we got to wake up. We got to do the same thing Republicans have done. In the last few years, they got their act together, and look where they're at now. Well, I think we're very close saying the Republicans need to get their act together again and take a booster shot, Dave. They need to get a booster shot of virus or insulin or not insulin, but protein or something to get their job going better than they are right now. But I tell you what, I think the DNC's in trouble. Neil's on a roll, boy. He's talking dollars here. Yes, sirree, you're right. Don't you know they wish they had that $25 million they blew on the GA6 back back that they blew on the GOP? You know they do. But they don't. They don't. All right. So, but I want let's look at this from a business point of view. Okay. Let's say that you are a Democrat, and let's say that you belong to and you have donated money to the Democrat National Committee. Let's look at this like a business now. All right, let's play Trump. Let's step back. Everything's related to business. It all works together, right? Let's look at this. They are losing money drastically. The revenues compared to your opponent is more than 2 to 1. Cash on hand, Way, way more than you do. As a stockholder, a member, donator to the cause of the DNC, I think I would be a little leery, wouldn't you? I think it'd make me think twice about making an additional investment into something that appears to be a failing, or at least a temporarily sliding company. I don't know. But then on the other hand, there might be somebody out there with some megabucks, Mr. Corporate person, come in and save the day with millions of dollars, Could be. Could be. Or maybe, if you're involved in the game, you can start your own little organization, file it with the to-be's, the power to be's, and start your own little group that you may feel more comfortable with investing in, making your donations. That's how a lot of these other groups get started, though, folks. People that say, well, I don't exactly agree with this and this and this and this. And one of the most successful is the Heritage Foundation. Oh, well, DNC, I think it's time to look in the mirror and look and see if you can find that pimple you need to pop, put that makeup on so you look a little bit better to your people. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Okay, funny, the New England elite newspapers, glossy magazines, MSN, obsessed alphabet channels are predicting POTUS Trump will resign soon. Funny, I quit watching most of those. Neil, just because I do what I do, I glance at them, and it's been a while. MSN. Let's see. I guess it's probably been a couple of weeks since I've even looked at them. If it was my company, I would split it up and sell off the Pocahontas branch. If POTUS would resign, the GOP will fall. This is my start of a third party. This may be the start of a third party. Neil, I tell you what, we're going to work that into here right now. After I take a drink of water here. Dry. I'm not drinking enough water, folks, on this diet. That's reason I'm stammering. My mouth is dry, so I got to keep it wet there. Okay. I think there is a definite third-party campaign going on right now. Again, my personal opinion. No, it's not either. I mean, if you go on Facebook, there's a group right now that is really pushing hard, and the numbers are not that big so far, but they are making headway, and that's the new centrist. And so I'm not going to call that a party yet, but it is something that is out there working. And there's others out there also. But I would not be a bit surprised, but they're going to have to get their act together real quick if they're going to try to put something together before the next general election. I think they may have their little state action groups, or something like that. But as far as something else, I don't know. Somebody tried to say something. Good morning. Hello. Okay, don't guess they meant to say it. I thought someone was trying to come in. But I do believe that. I do believe that there is another group. Where is the Tea Party? Talked about that just a tad yesterday. Neil, here in our area where I live, where you live, the Tea Party has become really non-existent. it has disappeared from the scene. I have not seen any postings by them. Charlotte Henderson, who is the chairman of that party, I see her at GOP functions every now and then, but used to get updates from that party every single day. And it's been months since I've seen a word or heard a word. Even at the GOP meetings when we're there, no one mentions the Tea Party. She never mentions the Tea Party. She's not wearing the pin, and all that. Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure it's there, but I sure haven't seen or heard anything about it. So, again, a flash in the pan. So I guess that or maybe they'll bounce back when it comes general election season. I don't know. But it is funny. It is funny. So, all right, I tell you what, folks, we're here at the top of the hour. And I tell you what, before I go any further, let's go ahead and take our break, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, I want all of you to get on your Facebook page. Invite people to jump over and listen to us. I want you to get on your Twitter or your LinkedIn or whatever. So many other things out there. I don't know what they all are. But anyway, invite them to jump over in the Pickle Barrel. Tell them the second hour is about to start, and they need to be here. So, Dave, let's go to break, and we'll be back here in about 3 minutes or so here in the Pickle Barrel, where we'll take up where we left off here and talk about some other issues as we wrap up the week. We'll be right back here in the Pickle Barrel at AmericanPatriotRadio.com.
Welcome back. You're in the Pickle Barrel with Bill Pickle.
Good morning, and welcome back. You are in the Pickle Barrel. We're all in that proverbial pickle barrel trying to find a way out, and hopefully by getting together and talking about the issues, even arguing about the issues is okay as long as you don't go to berserk, start all the spitting and hate and disgust, all of the cursing, all of the name calling, all of the running your car through the crowds. Nah, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. Everyone is welcome. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Christian or Israeli, Jewish. I don't care. The only thing I care about is that you care enough about what's going on in this country, that you care enough about what's going on in your own state, your own county, your own city, your own life, that you're willing to sit down and talk about it. Like civilized human beings. That's what I care about. And, I just think it's amazing. I think it's just amazing that we do not try to do that more than we do. Or maybe what even amazes me more is the fact that media doesn't cover those of us that do that. They don't sell newspapers that way. They don't get ratings. Hey, that's not where it's at. They got to cover all that bad stuff. But I tell you something, back in this day, August of 1920, something good did take place. It was the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Folks, it's still, every time I think about that, I can't help but smile or laugh. And it's not because of the fact that women got the right to vote. It's wondering why in the heck women didn't have the right to vote to start with. I mean, they had the right that all men do. They raised their families, they worked out in the fields and raised their family and washed the clothes and cooked the meals. You'd think that they earned the right to be just as equal as men. And men used to, I remember my grandparents talking about things like this, and they would be my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, Uncle Bill and Aunt Velma, Bill being the gentleman I was named after, by the way. And I remember hearing them. Of course, I didn't register with me at the time, but I remember her talking about when women could not vote and how hard it was to even vote now at that time, because they were still kind of put out, not expected to. That's all changed, hadn't it? And we've got a guest calling in, and is she on the line yet, Dave? Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, is our guest called in yet?
I'm here.
Hey, Lynn, good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm just wonderful this morning. How about y'all?
Always good, Lynn. You know me. I'm always doing good. I wouldn't admit it if I wouldn't. You know that?
Yes, sir. I understand that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Lynn Bennett on here, and I'm very proud to say, and I hope I'm as big a friend as her as I think I am. But Lynn, you are one of my favorite, and I tell you what, you have done so much for your county there. You have done so much for the Republican Party. You have done so much for the state of South Carolina. I want to publicly thank you right now and tell you the goosebumps I've got on my arms because you're here this morning.
Well, you're so sweet and you're so kind. You and I go back a long, long time, Dale, and you're one of my favorites too.
Oh,
I just
shucks.
enjoyed being with you. I enjoyed talking to you. You're one of the smartest people I know.
Well, you don't know very many people then, do you? I thought you knew more people than that.
I know some that I do question.
Oh, I know a lot of those too. Lynn, introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Well, right now, I'm Lynn Bennett. I'm the representative for House District 114 in Charleston County. And people that aren't familiar with that district, that used to be Bobby Harrell's district. It's now mine. It went to a Democrat for one term. It's a very conservative district with really good people that work hard and try to do the best that they can for their community. And I'm proud to live here.
Well, I tell you what, they're proud to have you there too, and it showed in the polls when you were elected. They wanted you. Period. So, very special day today, and I appreciate you. You know, I didn't even think about this being the day of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, and I sent her text message about about 7, I guess it was 6:30 or 7, and asked her would she please join us, and she came in out of the heat working in the yard to talk to us. Now that's commitment. That's commitment. Oh gosh. Well, Lynn, let me ask you, this is the anniversary of that. What do you think that women think? How many women do you know of that even probably realizes this is the holiday that gave them the right to vote? And are they exercising that right to the maximum that you would expect at this time?
You know, those are all great questions. I have not seen a whole lot of social media tweets or posts about the fact that this is the anniversary of women having the right to vote. We may take that for granted, or it may be like me that I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to cast my vote. There's nothing that I can do to go back and change what happened for thousands of years before we were given the right to vote. And so I'm just going to move on and exercise my vote and be involved and try to change things to the best of my ability and try to make the world a better place. I'm just honored that we have the right to vote. You're right. I don't know why we didn't before, but, times were just different then. People thought differently then. I don't even think women gave much thought to the right to vote before it became an issue. But I'm glad they fought for it, and I'm glad they got it, and I'm glad that I am able to be involved in the whole process.
Lynn, I don't know if you're as old as I am or not, but I don't think so. And close to it. Well, I remember as a teenager or younger even that back in the 50s, it was still a lot of discussion going on about women voting, women being involved in politics, and that it was still looked down upon them being involved. And even when in the 70s, it was still the same way. There was more women involved in local. I'm not local. Scratch that. In national. But you didn't see that many women really involved in local politics at all. And it was, if I remember correctly, it was in the 80s before my hometown had a woman even holding a public office of any kind. I'm talking about city council or school boards or anything like that. Can you remember what it was like here in Charleston back in the old days?
Well, no, I don't remember what it was like in Charleston. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot while I was growing up. But I can't say that I experienced that because the military is kind of a different family. People are treated differently. Women have been in the military for a long time. So there were women around us that were serving their country. I think, Bill, that it's gotten better. I think it was hard for women to pick up and just run. I mean, regardless of what people say, we're a little different. We probably think things through differently. We are life givers. We have children. We focus on those children. I did when I was younger. I didn't really get involved in politics until my children were old enough that I felt that they could handle themselves without me being down their backs all the time. And I still find that today when people complain about young people not being involved, I say, give them a break. They're trying to raise their families. They, unlike when I grew up, both parents usually work now. So it's even more stressful for them to try to hold their family units together.
Right.
So we just think differently. It doesn't mean that we're not concerned. It doesn't mean that we don't want to be involved. It's just that our priorities are a little different than men. But it's gotten better. I mean, you and I can remember just a few short years ago when we had no woman in the state Senate in South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
And that was what, 8-9 years ago.
I was let's see, I was in Columbia. Then I had I was the state newspaper at the time, and we were talking about. I remember sitting in the newsrooms. We were talking about a few women that might run. And there were a couple that I can't remember their names now. By gosh, I'm sorry, Lynn, I can't. But there was a couple that came up, and actually there was a couple that came up and talked to us, but never did do anything. And then I came to the morning news in Florence, and good gosh, you're right. It was probably 90. Oh man, let's see. It was probably 97, 98, maybe. Yeah.
Now, Katrina Shealy ran against one of the most powerful Republicans in the state and beat him, and was the first woman to go to the Senate, and she was there by herself. We now have 4 women serving in the Senate. So in a very short period of time, we've made some significant strides. I'd like to see more get involved. I think the Senate, the way it runs, can use as many women as it can get its hands on.
Well, you know, I'm one of those, Lynn, that say we need to have as many women in there as we can, because obviously the men aren't doing a whole lot.
Well, you know, give it time, Bill. Give it time.
Will it happen in my lifetime, Lynn?
You know, it possibly could. Like I said, in a few short years, look what's happened in the state Senate of South Carolina. We've gone from 0 women to 4 women. It seems every cycle another group of women come forward, and they're winning on both sides of the aisle. And we do process information a bit differently than men do, and that's not a bad thing. I think they need to hear both sides of the story when they're doing things. And you know, I try not to manage emotionally, but we are more emotional than men are, and sometimes that emotion needs to be part of the discussion. I just think they need to hear more than the logistical side of everything. You know?
Yeah. You know,
I'm a pretty logistical person myself. Actually.
Yeah. Oh, you are, and you dot your I's and cross your T's on everything too, young lady. And I think that's one of the things I like about you. When you put out something, you know, when I was watching you as you was chairman of the party down there, as I watched you and your involvement in the state party, as I watched you, you were one of those that I think set an example for the entire party and your entire group in your county, because when you set your mind on something, when you brought it up to talk to them about it, it was a workable plan. I mean, it wasn't something just thrown together, and it was obvious that you didn't put it together by yourself, because the way people were acting, they were standing with you, and that showed me that they probably had some input. You sought some outside help and advice. Isn't that amazing how people do that?
Yeah, well, that's the best thing to do. I've always believed, and you've probably heard me say this, if you want people to be involved, you have to give them ownership. They have to feel like they're a part of it, or else feel like they're being told what to do. Nobody wants to be told what to do. But even if you don't take their idea, if you would listen to it and consider it, because a lot of people have good ideas. I don't have them all. Then they become part of the process. They own whatever you come up with. They're not going to go get something they already own.
If you had the opportunity, which you do, by the way, you are talking before the entire world right now on internet commerce, internet web, you know.
Yes.
What would you tell women today? What would be 3 things you would tell them they need to do to be heard and to gain more influence in the political arena or business, either? You know, they're hurting in business arena also.
Right. Well, the first thing that I would tell them is something that I've always done is don't let your emotions get in the way. When you speak about something, even though you feel emotional about it, you feel it's the right thing to do, be very logical. I mean, there are some people that work off emotions, but most people just want the facts. Thank you, ma'am. They just want you to be sure that you know what you're doing, that you know what you're talking about, that you're listening to them.
Correct.
You know, yelling and hollering at people never gets anything done. Sometimes you can just agree to disagree and go on and say, well, we're just not going to come together on this issue, but we know something needs to be changed. We just don't agree how to get there. That happens a lot. Another thing I would say is don't be afraid. I think that there is a fear. You've run for office. There's a fear in running for office. There is a fear in going out and meeting people that you don't know, talking to people that may not agree with you, reaching out to people to ask them for things that you may not feel comfortable about asking them for. That you need to put that fear behind you and tell yourself you can do this. You might not do it the first time, but you might do it the second time or the third time. I believe strongly that people are called to do what's in their heart. There's something strong in your heart. There's a reason for it, and you need to address it. And the final thing that I would say is just to have fun, enjoy it. Don't get so worked up and so angry about things that you shut people down, that you turn people off. You just need to love everybody, be with everybody. I always say we're all made in the image of God. We try to make God in our image, and it doesn't work. And if we keep that in mind, and we have fun, and we remember that everybody around us was also created just as we were, that they have a purpose, that they're working on their purpose, and you may not like how it's going, but they're trying to do it, that you'll just have a great time, and you might make a difference, and that might impact the future of your children or your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren, and that's important. And you need to tell them that you want to change the world for their betterment, and let them know why you're doing what you're doing, and have fun doing it. Just have fun.
Yeah.
I think people are generally good people.
Yeah.
Generally they are.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true, actually.
Yeah, me too. But you're talking about have fun, listen to people, blah blah blah. I have the ability to listen to just about anyone and everyone. But if you want to have me stop listening, start yelling. Start giving the idea that you know everything and nobody else knows anything. Give me the idea that you have no idea what you're talking about. Really, your ideas really don't even matter. When I get that attitude coming toward me, Lynn, I'll be honest with you, that shuts me down, and it gives me a total different perspective on who that person is. And I think that, and this, don't take this as a sexist remark, but I think women, for the most part, you said it yourself, are more emotional, more sensitive. And, if I feel that way, man, I tell you what, gentlemen, remember that term, gentleman? I don't think some of you do remember it. But, ladies, for the most part, when it comes to politics, are still ladies. Gentlemen, you don't know what that word means anymore. You bully.
Well, you're absolutely right. I'm like you, Bill. If you start fussing at me or preaching a sermon at me, I will shut you down for words you're saying. And I think most people are that way. If you're willing to have a reasonable conversation, people are willing to listen to you. But when you just come after them and you don't hear what they have to say, and you're lecturing them and preaching at them and yelling at them, they're going to hear a word, not a single word that you have to say. They don't care anymore. So if you want to reach them, you have to be kind and loving. And that sounds like a Christian principle. Imagine that. Because it does tell us to be quick to listen and slow to speak. And as my grandma used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You're supposed to use one twice as much as the other. And it does work. It does work. And when you talk about the emotional side of a woman, the last thing she's going to do is hear anybody that's screaming at her. Yeah. They're just not. It works for me. I mean, if you're yelling at me about something, or you're being very, very critical about something, I won't listen to what I just don't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I might stand there and look at you, but not a single thing that you're saying is going into my brain.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me ask you this. You know, when we first met, we had a yeah, it was when we first met. She was still in office. We had a lady who was over the South Carolina Republican Party.
Yeah, Karen Floyd.
That's
One of
right.
my dearest friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to her in
Wonderful.
some time, but she's a great lady. Yeah. She did a wonderful job with the party. You know that?
She did, and she was, and people were very critical of her. I hate to say this, mostly the men were very critical of her, which is why she didn't run a second time in.
Mm-hmm.
We lost good leadership,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and she's actually just pulled out of the political scene altogether. She's got some great projects going on,
Mm-hmm.
but she's really not as involved politically
Mm-hmm.
as she was.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, people were successful in shutting that down, and
Mm-hmm.
she's really a bright woman. She's a bright businesswoman.
Oh, yeah.
All of her
Yes.
adventures
Mm-hmm.
are take off and are
Mm-hmm.
doing well. And I am sorry, I do keep in touch with her occasionally on things. She does every once in a while. We'll talk about a political issue that's
Mm-hmm.
up, but she's just not involved like she was.
Yeah.
And I think it will be a while before we'll see another female leader of the South Carolina Republican Party, basically because of the way that she was
Mm-hmm.
handled.
Yeah.
By,
Well,
I mean,
Lynn.
you saw it, Bill.
Oh, I
You
did.
and
I did. I saw it.
Yes.
I saw it, and I talked to several people about it, and they really didn't care. You know, I'll be honest to you.
Yeah.
But you know what? I honestly thought that that you might have taken on that task at one time.
It crossed my mind, but then I had to look what happened to my good friend Karen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a while before you'll see a woman step up and want to go for that job, just because of that. I think
Mm-hmm.
it left a bad taste in a lot of female mouths.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to her?
Yeah.
I think it left a bad taste in some men's mouths too. I mean, they saw it.
It hacked me off. I guarantee you, and I let it be known. You know me,
Yeah.
Shy Bill.
So,
Yeah.
I did not want to go through what she had gone through, and I figure there's plenty that I can do for her. I love my party. I love my state.
Yeah.
I love my fellow Republicans. They you know, it's like herding cats.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own opinion. I don't want sheep. I don't want sheep in my party. I don't mind that people have differing opinions. But I do find that we have a tendency not to respect sometimes those differing opinions, and we don't have to agree with them, but we do have to respect them.
That's right. Well, let me ask you, what are we going to need to do to change the tides, per se? What are we going to need to do to get more women involved and have them take on more leadership roles, wherever it may be within the party? Well, like you decided to run for the House of Representatives here in the state. You're in the House now there. So how are we going to get more women to jump in that bandwagon and start that march again?
Well, first of all, I think that she has to have a desire to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't just go out, push people to do something that they really don't want to do. I think we need to ask more people. I don't know that we ask enough women to run for something. I don't think we encourage them enough to stand up. I don't think that we explain to them that when you see a woman lose an election, that it's not necessarily because people didn't want that woman. It could have been that she failed to get her point across. She failed to I mean, to this all the time, campaigning is the hardest thing, I think, for women to do. It takes a lot of your time. It takes a lot of your time away from your family.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a very supportive family if you're going to do that, because it's 7 days a week through the election season, and you've got to work hard. So I think that if we asked more women, if we talked to more women, if we educated them on the process and make sure that they have a desire. Don't run just because you're a woman and you think more women should serve. You should run because you have a desire to accomplish something, to make a change in something. Have an issue. I mean, everyone's got an issue. Take your issue and make it acceptable to the people around you, to the people that live in your community. And you'll find out pretty quickly where your support comes from.
You know, you hit on something at the very first sentence there in that little answer session. Their job is to raise the family. You know, they have a family to raise.
And most women feel that way.
And most women still feel that way, that is their calling in life. And most men will remind you that is your first calling. Believe me, I've heard enough of them. They will tell you that your place is at home. You know, there's still, believe it or not, a lot of men out there that don't like the idea that their wife works for a living, you know, has a career. And I know a couple personally that are very embarrassed that their wife has a better job and brings in more money than they do. So, you know, this has changed so much over the decades, but it's still there, isn't it?
It is still there. And it'll be a long time before those kind of stigmas disappear, because we spent thousands of years with women not voting, women being at home, taking care of the family, not really necessarily working unless it was in the family business on the family farm. They were part of that. So it's just going to take a while for people to get past that. And I don't want women to feel guilty. I mean, if you feel that your job is to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm not going to criticize that. That's what you think you're supposed to do. If you think you're supposed to be a lawyer or a doctor, I'm not going to criticize that, because that's what you think you're here to do. I believe everybody's here for a reason.
Yep.
Whatever that stated purpose is, we don't always know until maybe the very end why we're here. But I think that we just need to give it time and not be critical and be encouraging. And I think you will see a lot more women come forward in the future, because the thinking about that has all changed over the years, and it will continue to change.
Well, I believe you're absolutely right. And I think that, well, I know right here in Florence, I know of 2 or 3 women that I've talked to about why they've never gotten involved. And, you know, and each of them said, well, Bill, you know, I appreciate you not talk about it publicly, but, you know, I have given some thought to it and I'm still thinking about it, blah, 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 blah. So I've encouraged them to think about it real hard, because I think we need them in office. And, you know, what I can say here is, if good men aren't going to do it, by gosh, we need some good women who will. You know,
we could use a lot of good women.
That's right. That's right. Well, Lynn, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, if I ask you a couple of questions about a couple of the events that's going on right now that are plaguing us real bad. This event in Charlottesville. You know, I think that was a black eye for not just Charlottesville, but the reaction to it. I have some questions about how that is hurting the country as a whole. And what's your feelings about what took place over there?
It was awful. I mean, that's the only word I can ever think of. The fact that a young woman, whether you agreed with her political position or not, was killed. Should never have happened. I think there's I sort of am in the camp where I think there's a lot of blame to go around. Why did the police let it get out of hand in the first place? Why did they give a permit to, I mean, I understand there's a First Amendment right to protest, but that's a peaceful protest. It's not a violent protest. These groups are known for their violent reactions to things, and yet the city did nothing to try to tamp that down. I I abhor the KKK. And I abhor Robert Byrd, who was in the KKK, that many of these people that are now being critical have defended him. I abhor white supremacy. As I said, we are all made in the image of God. I don't care what color your skin is. God made you in his image. We don't know what that image looks like, but if we look at each other, we see it.
Mm-hmm.
We try too often to make God into an image that we want it to be, and that's just not going to happen. And when it does, you get false gods and you get false prophecies and you get hate and ugliness. And this is where we are. I pray for the good people, because I know there are lots of people in the middle that don't know what to do. You certainly don't want to stand up for the KKK or the white supremacists or whatever they call themselves anymore.
Yeah,
they're horrid.
Yeah.
And I'd like to rid ourselves of them, but our country is such that they have a right to say what they say. If they cause damage in the name of anger, as they do, they can be charged with a hate crime.
Mm-hmm.
But you can speak all you want to. What you cannot do is beat each other up.
Yeah.
I am disappointed that people have more of a issue with Antifa being there, because they are ground of violence.
Yeah.
And so when you put those two in the same part together, you're going to get violence. I mean, you just put two factions of violence together, and what's going to come out of it is violence. And they say, well, these people were, they're anti-racist. Well, I'm anti-racist, but I'm not a member of Antifa. Antifa wants to, thinks that police lives don't matter.
Yeah.
So they all have their faults. I just hope that cities will learn a lesson from this. I hope that whatever investigation comes out of this will give us some lessons learned for the future, because unfortunately, in a world full of sin, we're going to have hateful people.
Yes.
On all sides. They're just going to be angry, and they're just going to be hateful.
Always have been and always will be.
Right. And while it's this particular issue, there'll be a new issue. Give it 6 months. You know what I mean?
Oh, give it 6 days.
Yeah.
Give it 6 days.
I was trying to be a little more optimistic.
Yeah,
Bill.
sorry about that. I am being optimistic. I want to say 6 hours, but I said 6 days. Lynn, you got a fan in Facebook. Michael Parnell just says, Lynn Bennett, one of the hardest working representatives in the state house! Exclamation mark.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you to say.
Well, what are some of the issues that you are facing? I know what I want to ask you about. I guess you heard that there's a nuclear power plant problem in South Carolina.
I think we just shut one down. Two down.
Yeah, they shut down, didn't they? What's going to take place here, Lynn?
Well, it's hard to say. I was not there in 2007 when they passed this law that allowed the electric utilities to raise rates to pay for this project as it went along. I'd like to know how that money was spent, because there have been several increases. I'd like to know where the ratepayers' money. I'm a ratepayer too.
Yeah.
My electric bill's just as bad as everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like an audit done on how that was spent. I'd like us to what we're paying the executives of a public utility company, because I was just amazed at the salaries that some of these people
And those bonuses.
receive.
Wow, those bonuses.
The bonuses, exactly. Not salaries and bonuses. It's a mess. I'd like to know why commissioners on that part-time commission get paid over $100,000 a year.
No.
We don't do public service very well anymore. So I'd like to know who these commissioners are, why they failed at their job, and why they get paid so much to fail at their job. I'd like to look at possibly privatizing some of this.
Uh-huh.
As it turns out, we've all been pitched in to build a facility that didn't just benefit the citizens of South Carolina. That that energy would have been sold other places, yet we paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many questions, Bill. There's going to be a hearing next week. I plan to be there for that hearing. I think we should rescind the law that allows them to raise rates.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I don't feel like, even though they had to go before the commission, I don't feel like the commission looked out for the best interests of the ratepayers, which is why they were there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why there was no forewarning about Westinghouse going bankrupt, because that doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what the CEO wrote a letter, I believe it was the state newspaper, saying who knew Westinghouse was going to go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm. Westinghouse did.
Happen overnight. Yeah. They had to have known too, because things start to happen. They can't pay their bills. They can't meet their obligation. Banks quit giving them money. So things are happening that they had to have seen, that we as a public may not have seen, but they should have seen.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why they didn't have a performance bond. That's part of the problem, is that they were allowed to do this work without a full performance bond. And what I've heard, and I don't know this to be the truth, but it sounded reasonable, was that they didn't think they needed a full performance bond because it was Westinghouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so they only gave them a $5 million bond instead of a full performance bond. Well, anything can happen at any time. So one of the reasons we're being left with such a big bill is that we weren't insured against any failures. So I'd like to know what really was the thinking on that. I hate to use this expression. Was it another piece of the good old boy network? I mean, what happened?
Yeah. Lynn, let me ask you this now. Who established the commission?
The commission is established by legislators and the governor's office.
Okay. And so, see, that's where my first question comes in. You hit one of the key points I wanted to bring up was why didn't we know? Why didn't we know? That is a public publicly. It's owned by the state. You guys, and I said you weren't there at the time, and I'm giving you the escape clause here right now. But we've got so many legislators up there that are in the know on this kind of stuff, that had put these commissioners in there that oversee these type of things. When should they have started asking these questions? I think they should have asked them before the flop instead of after the flop.
Well, I don't know who knew what, but I can tell you that all the legislators were stunned by this. I think, and that's a failure of the commissioners. They may not have known because they were not kept apprised by the utility companies.
And they didn't think to ask.
And they didn't think to ask. And when they come in and they give their little dog and pony shows, everything's always roses and ponies and wonderful. So somebody along the line held the information. It was not shared with the legislators. And the legislators, they have to approve the appointment of all of these commissioners. So I hope they don't think they're going to get reappointed in their next round. But I just don't have the answers to that. But those are the kind of answers that I want to know. Where did it fall apart? Were people truly uninformed, truly unknown facts here? Or were they trying to keep the facts and the information from certain people? And I just don't know that. And I hope that as the hearing goes along, we'll get answers to those kinds of questions. Okay.
One of the big issues of the day, again, I'm going to talk about just for a real short time, probably, me, I'm kind of sarcastic at times, but, we got this deal now where everybody's wanting to take down monuments and stuff. And, Everybody's wanting to know when's the next monument coming down, or if they're going to go after this. And I don't know if you saw my posting about the Statue of Liberty last night on Facebook. Got all kinds of responses. I was sort of being sarcastic, of course. But when are we going to pass a law that we cannot have any monuments and just put this all under the carpet? Tear down everything, all the monuments. We got that new Martin Luther King monument on the state grounds. Well, we need to take that down too. All the monuments. When are we just going to do away with all the monuments, Lynn?
Well,
eliminate this problem.
That's a tough question. I think if we're going to remove monuments, let's start with Margaret Sanger's up in Washington. She has probably been responsible for the elimination of the biggest elimination of a minority group, the blacks, which was her goal. And she is an icon of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
I don't know that taking down monuments is going to do anything for us, Bill.
It's not.
But I do think it's not. But I do think that it's a local issue. And I do think you don't need to be tearing them down. You don't need to be setting them on fire. You don't need to be tar and feathering them. What you need to do is take a vote. And if the people in your community really want to remove these statues, that's fine. I'm sorry that you do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it should be in the hands of a few people that are just angry.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the federal statutes go, I haven't thought through that one yet. I think that our history is our history, good or bad. ISIS tears down statues of stuff that doesn't support their history. When we start eliminating history, we forget our mistakes. That's part of the problem with changing textbooks and not talking about things, that we forget the mistakes that we made, and we forget the remedies that we have made to correct those mistakes. They just kind of go away. And I don't want us to forget that. I don't want us anywhere to forget that we are not perfect, that we always strive to be perfect, and we're always working to remedy our sins and our shortcomings. And you don't do that if you start hiding the ugly facts and only want to look at the beautiful flowers in the field, because every once in a while a hawk will sweep in and take that cute little bunny, and that field won't be so beautiful anymore. So we need to keep all of that in mind. If I don't think mayors should be taking these statues down, or city councils. And if you have had a statue removed and you're against it, I don't think you should be going out and beating someone's head in. I think you ought to find people to run for office and work hard for them, to elect them if you want them returned. There is a political process in this country. We are not a third world country. We don't beat each other up when we disagree. We handle it through a political process, and that's what I would recommend that everyone do.
See why I like Lynn Bennett? See why I like her? I can see it now. Governor Bennett.
Oh, please.
Senator Bennett. It's got a ring to it, Lynn.
Oh, you're so funny.
I
just want to get through this. I just want to get through this one. There are things in our state that I want to see accomplished. I mean, education is a big thing with me, I have learned my first year.
Yeah.
There is a system that is hard to penetrate. That there are good people who want to go along to get along, and I just want it. We're 50th in the country. For heaven's sakes, we have nowhere to go but up. All we need to do is look at the top 10 school systems in the country and emulate one of them. We don't have to rewrite the book.
Yeah.
The book is already out there. We just need to implement it and do it. And
Lynn,
it can't seem to. Yeah.
I remember where I went to high school, Mesquite, Texas. We were rated top in the state. We were in the top 10 of the state every year that I can remember. And I don't know if they still are or not, but we had people from all over the country coming to visit the schools. We had people from Canada, Great Britain. I remember the accent when we had people from Great Britain coming through the school, and they would say something to the class, and I remember that. And here we have right the opposite. We have teachers and administrators leaving schools because they don't know part of it. I mean, it's ungodly. It's ungodly. Oh, Lynn,
Yeah.
I tell you what, I appreciate you being here this morning on such a short call anyway. I want to give you a couple of minutes here. We're running short on time, but I'm going to give you a few minutes here. Any last words you'd like to say? And I would ask you, if you would, when you know what day those hearings are going to start on the radioactive conversations.
I can tell you the first one has been scheduled for next Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the Black Building in Columbia, and it is an open hearing. I expect that it will be crowded.
Yeah, I do too.
So that has been posted. I believe Speaker Lucas issued a press conference announcing that, and I believe Peter McCoy, who is the chair of that, is also issued a press release announcing that will be next Wednesday in Columbia.
Okay. Well, I need y'all to understand that I can't be present at those things if y'all don't make them afternoon, because, by the time I get off the show and get down there, it's lunchtime, y'all quit. So y'all need to schedule all meetings afternoon so I can be there. Will you work on that?
I think they scheduled this for 10 because they think it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
A long day.
Well, I tell you what, if possible, I might try to set an arrangement where I can maybe get down there and do my show via cell phone down there so I can come to that meeting, because I'd like to be there. If at all possible, I'm going to try to make arrangements to be down there, Lynn, and listen to that.
They will be traveling around the state holding hearings. This won't be their last
good.
one. I would encourage people to attend and I plan to attend as many as I can.
Good.
Basically because I want to hear for myself. I don't want to read, a report that's been filtered through a committee. I want to hear from the mouths of the wolves exactly what happened if they're going to speak. I want to hear from the mouths of the legislators, why they thought this law was a good idea. I want to hear it for myself. I don't want to read it in a report that's been filtered and sent out to probably shine the best light that they possibly can. I mean, I'm sure they'll admit mistakes, but I want to hear it and see it off from myself.
Okay. Well, I got one last question for you, and you brought the topic up. You may not realize what you said that caught my attention. Are you telling me that newspapers are not the only ones that filter reports?
I think everyone does that, Bill. I think that everyone that serves on any kind of committee, whether it's the Republican Party committee or your local school board or whatever, when they issue their reports, they're going to try to do it in the best light possible. They'll admit a mistake, but they're going to give you the glowing, we're going to fix the mistake comment.
So in other words, some of these politicians are always hitting the mainstream media about filtering it and making things look the way they want it to look. Some of these politicians may be just as guilty, huh?
I don't think they're anywhere near as bad as the media, Bill. I don't think there's any country right now that's as bad as the media. At least the legislators will admit what happened, what the problem is. How they say that we got there or how they conclude that we can fix it may be another thing. The mainstream media doesn't even tell you what the real problem is. In fact, I think many times they make up the problem because they want to divide us and they want us to hate each other. And that's why I don't subscribe to my local newspaper, because and I haven't for years, because it's just part of the problem.
All right. Lynn Bennett, House member, South Carolina. Thank you so much for jumping in here in the Pickle Barrel with us this morning and spending so much time, and again, on such a short notice. Love you. And I am going to be a little sexist here for a second, Lynn. I saw a picture of you on Facebook the other day in this long, flowing black dress. Oh, girl, you look good.
Well, I take that as a compliment, honey. I don't spend all that time getting dressed up and putting on all that makeup to not be told I look beautiful.
You look beyond beautiful, girl. Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. Lynn, you have a great day, and don't work out in that yard too much. It's hot out there. Okay. All right. Love you, girl.
Start now.
All right.
Love you, Bill.
Bye bye. All right, Lynn Bennett, House member here in South Carolina, State House. Good person, good all-around person, good lady, outstanding lady. I really do. I count her as one of the best blessings South Carolina has, and I hope you understand why. All right, my gosh, I tell you what, she said she would call and talk with us for a little while, and we were there almost 45 minutes, weren't we? God, you see why I love her? She'll talk to anybody, even us. So, all right, let me get caught up on the chat room here. I'm sorry, I was listening and talking with her so much. Let's see here. Fletcher, good morning, Fletcher. How are you today? Let's see, the old saying regarding politicians who have outlived their purpose, he's a crook, but he's our crook. Yeah, I heard that one more than once. Marxists who write and protest under the work.com, which is a branch of the American Communist Party. It is. So folks watch the alphabet channels and believe POTUS is vile and should be removed. Okay, good comment, Fletch. Lynn is my favorite. She actually responds back to me. I wish I'd seen this earlier. I would have told her. But Fletch, she is a hard-working lady. She takes the job serious. And very often I'll get updates from what's going on down there. And she is one of the few that you can count on that will communicate back with you each and every time you ask the question. She responds, and it's not some young lady or gentleman sitting at a desk that they don't even know what the desk is really used for that responds. She does it herself, and I do appreciate that. And thank you for the comments and being here this morning. All right. Well, I tell you what, time is a-fleeting. We got about 6 minutes left. Let's see here. We just finished that conversation. Well, I tell you what it is. It's Friday. Let's just forget about everything else. We'll just open up the floor here. Dave, I hadn't heard from you this morning. What you got on your mind this morning? Anything about what we just finished talking about, or you just want to tell us what's coming up next on APR? How about that?
Yeah, stick around here on AmericanPatriotRadio.com. Coming up later on this afternoon, it is Friday, so we have a full schedule, everything from Kids Corner to Happy Hour to Golden Age of Radio, and especially I Love My Tools at 9 o'clock. Yeah, 9 o'clock. I had to think for a minute.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after that, because Reverend Foster Clark is here with his weekly Friday night gospel romance hour, and time for couples to get together and renew your relationship and get close to one another, and you send the kiddies out of the room and you just spend some one-on-one time that's well deserved.
Ooh, that sounds hot. Hey, before I go, I love my tools. Mike Desano. Folks, I want to tell you something. I've known Mike for a number of years, and I have seen him work with tools. Blind. I've seen him using power saws, drills, chisels. I'm always thinking, how in the world does he do that? And when it comes to measuring things, how does he measure them? And so he showed me. He pulled out his little bag of tricks, homemade tricks, so he can measure things, just like I was looking at a ruler. And so when he's talking about I love my tools, folks, you need to watch that and see and listen to what he does. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's on at what time tonight, Dave?
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that, but yes, absolutely, that's what it's all about. Mike's amazing when it comes to what he can do and what he has done. With construction and tool. Hey, if a blind guy can do it, you got no.
I tell you what. All right. Hey, did I kiss up enough to him right now? Huh? The boss man? Huh? Okay. All right, folks. So listen, that's it for the end of the Pickle Barrel for this week. I want y'all to have a great weekend. And listen to the words of Lynn Bennett this morning, that if you want something changed, you're the ones that are going to have to participate to make it change. And y'all have heard me say that more than once, and everybody on this station. If you want change, we are the ones that's got to do it. Think about that. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you back here in the Pickle Barrel on AmericanPatriotRadio.com. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'd appreciate it. Spread the word. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. You've been in the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host Bill Pickle.
You are listening to American Patriot Radio.